Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Life in Racer's Lane. Today we have on Mr. Croft, which is the Dean of the College of Applied Technologies. How you doing, sir?
I am well. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
Good deal.
So I was doing a little bit of research, looking into it, and you were here at UNOH before, right, as a student?
No. I was. I'm faculty.
You're faculty?
Yeah.
My resources lied to me.
Uh-oh. Someone's in trouble.
Wikipedia. No shit.
I started as an instructor. 2008, general education. Okay, because my background is in obviously business. Okay, so I worked for my parents at their local auto repair facility, and for about 17 years, and something opened up here through a friend, let me know about applying. So I applied, and they hired me, and here I am 17 years later, in the position of one of the three deans in the College of Tech.
You still liking it?
Oh yeah.
All this time?
I mean, there's nothing else right now that I could see myself doing per se.
It's a good fit for you.
Yeah, for me it is. Again, I'm a local guy outside of spending 6.5, 7 years in the Cleveland, Ohio area. I got my undergrad from Cleveland State University, so I decided to stay up there a couple extra years, but decided to move then back and develop some skills, and here I am today.
Nice.
But I am an alum because I got my master's degree from here, so that might be where you found
maybe that's what I got. So you get your master's. So how is that like? I know I've heard a lot of people say UNOH was a very different place back in the early 2000s. So what is the biggest difference between when you were here getting your master's and between nowadays?
That's a good question, because I got my master's as I was working here as an instructor. It was different because I did everything online. So with my entire undergrad degree from 85 to 89, everything was face to face at that time. We didn't have online classes at Cleveland State. So coming here and being a whole lot more mature, married, with kids and grandkids, going through it. I had a focus to where I wanted to show my grandkids it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still learn something. Yeah. But the experience, I don't have anything negative to say about the experience. I liked what I did. It only took me a year and a half or so to get through it, and
a year and a half to get your master's.
Yep, that's all it took me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speed run. I've never heard a master's get done that quick.
Yeah, I just accelerated. And with the program that we have here, it was set up, for that type of.
That does make sense, because if you did it online, you can do it like quicker than it would just in normal, like in person.
Yeah. It was 18 months, and I was done. I was out and moved on with my life.
Nice. All right. So one of the questions I have here is tell us about like your career journey, like where you started, fresh out of high school, and then how you ended up where you're at today. What does that total journey look like?
Yeah. I was local here, went to Shawnee, graduated from Shawnee, but my last 2 years, junior, senior year, I went to Apollo, and I learned computer programming and a little bit of business type of training there. And then what I did after that was I went, moved to Cleveland, Ohio, majored in, originally was a computer science major. I wanted to be a computer programmer and do those systems analysis and that type of stuff. But I found out, my first year as a freshman that, maybe sitting behind a desk looking at a computer all day long isn't what I'm cut out for. So then I switched to marketing and, got my, bachelor degree with a concentration in marketing, 1989, and then did a few sales jobs here and there. It really wasn't my cup of tea. Then my parents opened up their local automotive facility, and I moved back to town, spent 17 years there, primarily doing automotive mechanical repair and those types of things, but also restoration type of work on classic cars. I don't know much about a lot of those other types of classic vehicles, but if you need to know something about the 69 Dodge Charger, I can tell you.
Is that your favorite car, I would assume?
Well, my favorite car is a Ferrari, but I was always a Mopar guy, so whether it be the Charger, the Challengers, and the Cudas were the cars that I like. Actually, my first car was a 1970 Dodge Challenger RT.
Nice.
And so, growing up in a family like that, and my brother had a 69 Charger RD, still has it. It was just something that kind of clicked with me. So we did a lot of restorations of vehicles over the 17 years that I was there. Learned a lot that way. I still hold 5 ASC certifications, myself. So zero training. In the automotive industry outside of, what I had in college. But, so everything that I know, mechanically speaking, restoration is everything that I've learned, on my own.
I mean, I guess that kind of aligns with what UNOH is all about, right? It's
Exactly.
about automotive. It's about building those kind of things. And you said restoration.
Mm-hmm.
So is that, ideally, do you enjoy working on restoration for cars, or do you like doing other parts of working on cars? Or when it comes to a project car, if you had one, like just a piece of garbage car, but what would be your favorite part about building it?
Finishing it, and
just getting it done.
I mean, that sounds so so cliche, you could say, but as you're going through the process, it's like, okay, this is going to take 9 months or 2 years or however long it takes, just depending on what the vehicle needs. So you see everything stripped down, and then you're putting everything back together. But when you see that finished product, you kind of think back and say, okay, this is how I pictured this. That would look.
There's a pride with it too.
Well, there's an awful lot of pride with it.
Looking back on it as I did that. That is my work, and I'm proud to see where it came. And now I have a product that is what I envisioned however many years ago.
Yeah, I also worked with, 2 of my brothers also worked there. And, one was the body guy. He did all of the, body work and the paint and those things. And my other was more of the mechanical type of a guy. And I was the detail type of an individual. So, yes, I come in and I would do brakes and, suspension and those types of things. But I would also do the small little intricate detail things because the other 2 didn't really have the patience for it,
Really?
So, that was kind of my area of expertise. Yes, I would help out with body work and help out, hanging panels and doing those types of things. But, those different areas of expertise, we knew what we were good at, and we let the other individuals, do that type of thing there.
Yeah. And so going into a little bit about what it is actually being a dean. So what is it more of the day-to-day of being a dean? What is it like just being a dean of the College of Applied Technologies?
Well, I will say this, there's a lot of communication that goes on an everyday type of basis, whether it's between Mr. Higgins, Mr. Meager, and myself, or if I come over here to College of Business, with Dr. Evans, or even with Mr. Gunder. We have our own areas that we focus on. So, Mr. Meager has his areas, I have my areas, and then Mr. Higgins has his areas. And then there's some overlap that we have with those. So specifically, I'll do pretty much all of the scheduling for classes. So I work hand in hand with the registrar's office, and we'll see, okay, these are what we're going to offer. This is when we're going to offer them. And then we keep track of what the different cohorts that run for the different programs and things that way. So scheduling is a big part of my everyday journey, going ahead and updating curriculum, looking at the programs and always trying to do assessment to, figure out how we can make things better. Okay. But, there aren't 2 days that are alike. I'll put it to you that way. We deal a lot with students. Okay. And then we'll do, quite a bit with parents, because a lot of times, parents call, they're concerned about, some things. There might be some things that they don't quite understand. Maybe their son or their daughter isn't explaining things properly to them. So they'll reach out to a dean. We'll, speak to the parent, try to clarify a lot of things and go from there. But we deal really pretty much with every department on this campus.
And that's really good that you mentioned the parents, because that's a big reason that we do this podcast, is to answer parent questions. And we'll get into it a little bit later on about what are common questions you get from parents and things like that. But we'll get to that later. But you mentioned parenting, you mentioned all the parents that you answer questions for, and you mentioned helping students out with their scheduling and things like that. So I would imagine our open houses are your busiest days of the year when everybody's there asking those questions. Yeah,
they can be. And I like our format. I like the fact that we, have instructors here that will be standing in front of the courses or the classrooms in which they teach. And then, the prospective students and then the parents can ask any question that they want to ask.
When I was going to my full house before I was a freshman, it was very organized. Like my parents did like how it was very like, step by step, there was a route and it was easy to follow and answer questions. Yeah. So I like that a lot. But what would you say is your favorite part about being the dean? What is the thing that you like most about the job position that you're in?
Helping people, not only students, not only parents, but also my colleagues, and whether it would be our faculty, whether it would be, working with, Dr. Evans, with Mr. Meager, Mr. Higgins, working with our division heads. I like working with admissions department, the registrar's office, financial aid. I'm a people person, so I don't like to spend too much time in my office. I'd rather be out doing my job that way.
I'm that same way. Yeah, I agree.
Totally.
Alrighty, so the next thing we have on our list here is our pit stops. So are you familiar with what our pit stops are?
No.
So it's a new feature that we brought in recently where it's just to get our minds off something. It's just to have a little bit of fun with just some interesting questions that I was doing a little bit of research on. So I'll give you one, you can give me one, we can both answer them. So you go dun dun dun.
Is this like Jeopardy or something like?
Yeah. So this first round right here is would you rather questions. So I'm gonna ask you, be stuck in one outfit forever or one hairstyle forever?
Yeah, that's a good one. One outfit for. Do I get to choose the outfit?
That's a good question. I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes.
Or what's the other one?
Or have the same hairstyle forever.
You know what? I'll take the latter. I'd rather have the same hairstyle forever because it means that I have hair.
Because you can't lose it, right? If you always have it, you can't lose it.
If I get the hairstyle, it means that I have hair.
I would answer the same. I would answer have the same hairstyle forever because fun fact, I haven't changed this since 5th grade. Literally haven't touched it. I've been the same ever since and it's been fine.
All right.
So I'd rather just keep the same hairstyle forever because stuck in one outfit forever would be horrible.
Yeah, especially if it's something that you don't like, or it wears out, it starts to stink, type of thing. What do you do after that? What do you do when you wash? When you wash it, what are you wearing?
Nothing. But like think about it, like the change in the times. Like this question was asked to somebody in like the 70s that's still alive. They'd be still wearing 70s clothes.
They look like Richie Cunningham. Right?
Exactly. Like it would be weird. So I would definitely choose the hairstyle.
All right. Sure. Now I get to pick one, right?
It's your turn now.
Okay.
From the top there.
All right. So would you rather never be able to rewatch anything or never watch anything new?
Ooh, that's good. Okay, so the question was never watch a new show again or never watch shows at all?
Yeah, never rewatch anything.
Okay.
Or never watch anything new.
Ooh. Yes. So either stuck with everything I've already watched or only see new stuff.
Only see new stuff, yeah.
I really don't know. Well, because I'm not a movie guy. I'm not a TV guy. Okay. I don't really watch anything. The only time my TV ever turns on is if I'm if I need something in the background when I'm doing homework.
Well, I kind of thinking about this a little bit. It's like, okay, so nothing new. That means I don't get to watch any new football games or baseball games or those types of events. I don't get to watch a new Super Bowl. I don't get to watch.
I like that. Okay, so then I change it.
Okay,
because
that'll cost you $20 to change your answer there, right, young lady?
Well, then I'm going into debt. So right. So I would change my answer because I'm going to go into Formula Drift, and I spend my time. If I have a question, I study. I rewatch the footage of the events of the driving, and I study all these kinds of things. So if I wouldn't be able to rewatch the footage or be able to see new footage that is coming out, then I could never do my job. Gotcha. Like the job that I want to accomplish one day, I would never be able to do it if I can't keep watching new footage.
But I like those questions because it kind of gets you thinking outside of the box.
Right. Yep. So we'll have two more of those, but later on.
All right.
Later on. So we'll put these aside for right now. So we'll jump back into it. So this one is just about the College of Applied Technologies. This is just questions about the university and specific details such as that. So the first one that I have here is, what makes the College of Applied Technologies at UNOH unique compared to other technology programs?
Our faculty.
The faculty.
I would put our faculty against any faculty in the country based off subject matter, because every one of our faculty are incredible subject matter experts in their area of expertise. I would put them against anybody. Okay, so I think that's what makes us in College of Applied Technologies different from all of the other ones. Yeah. It's the people that we've hired that have committed to do the things that they've committed to do. And these men and women have a passion for what they do. And that's what I think separates us from everybody else.
Yeah. And I think it's also the hands-on with UNOH as well.
Yeah, we talk about, a 70-30 on average split, with 70% hands-on, 30% in the classroom. Now, some classes might be 50-50, other classes might be 80-20. Sure. But on an average, it comes up, to that. But yes, I mean, you're getting that hands-on experience on up-to-date training aids with up-to-date equipment, scan tools, and all that type of stuff. But without the right person to present the information and know exactly what's going on with whether it's a car or a combine or a tractor, or a robot in our robotics department, it doesn't work.
It doesn't matter, right? Like if the educator doesn't know what they're educating the people on, then when the students ask questions, they don't know what they're talking about.
You just can't regurgitate something that's written in a book. I mean, you have to know how to explain it outside of that.
I like how you mentioned that because that was emphasized in one of our recent episodes with Mr. Harubin, because he's drivelines. Yeah. So we were talking about that, and he was talking about the ins and outs of it, and like what you should buy, what you shouldn't buy, and just tips and tricks and things like that. And it was obvious that he knew what he was doing. It was obvious he knew what he was talking about, and he can help his students that way. Because when their students ask them outside of the box questions, then they have outside of the box answers because they've lived those questions before. Like they've had those interactions and those experiences to actually educate the students on whatever they're learning about.
Racing, for example, I know Mr. Vaughn, teaches custom engine building and also engine machining back there. He's done this stuff for years, and he races on weekends. So he's able to go ahead and apply that experience to the classroom, and the students, they just soak it up.
And that's where the real education is, right? That's where it actually matters. Like anybody can read a textbook and just forward the information that they read, but
you have to be able to apply it.
Right. But you said the best faculty is the one that actually lived it and then can give that experience to the students.
You got it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is really, really cool. And I read an article that you were featured in heavily back in February. Do you remember that? From the Ohio newsroom in February.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Vaguely do.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it was something similar to this, but it was over the telephone that we did an interview, and I think the young lady, we were talking about, because I've done a few of these things, can't remember exactly that one was. They were talking about the future of the industry, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so, because right here it says you talked about the technician shortages.
Okay.
And you talked about technician shortages, and then so the question that I had backing that up is, what is the biggest workforce challenge today in the automotive world?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you've already said it right there. Technician shortage.
Technicians?
Yeah, definitely. Shortage of trained technicians. There's a difference between being someone who can go into a repair facility and change oil and put air in tires and do those types of things, compared to somebody who's able to go in and actually diagnose something and repair it in a reasonable period of time. These vehicles today are becoming more and more technically advanced, more and more complicated, and we need to have trained individuals, men and women, who can go ahead and repair them accurately. But one thing that hurts a business is when the vehicle comes back for the same problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that hurts.
No, I agree. And you mentioned finding out the problem. Because back home, I have a drift car. I have a 240 SX drift car. And the biggest problem that I always encounter is, all right, what is actually the problem here and what's actually going on? I have a very hard time diagnosing these things because once I know the problem is, I'll just buy it and I'll go fix it. But I'm looking at the car. I know something's wrong. I'm hearing something that's not right. But I just don't know what I'm doing at all. And I have to do my research on it. So I think it is very valuable for companies and for organizations that do auto shop work to actually have credible diagnostics and actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, each one of our technical programs have performance packets that are in each of the courses, and in those performance packets, cars are bugged. and then they're given problems, and the students have to figure out what's wrong with the vehicle.
It's a great exercise.
Now the instructors will guide them, but none of our instructors give any answers because it doesn't work. There isn't anybody in the shop that's going to give you an answer. You have to figure that out yourself. And a lot of times, the problem with the vehicle is just something very simple. It can be a connection. It could be moisture. It can be, just some simple things, but a lot of technicians, who might not have the training would tend to say, well, let's just replace this part or let's replace that part. Before you know it, you've got, 6 different parts on, you get the same problem. Okay. I can remember one time working on a guy's vehicle. He asked me, he says, how much do you guys charge to, diagnose? And I said, X number of dollars. He says, man, that's crazy. I said, but it is what it is. It costs money to get these, this scan tool. I have to figure out a way to pay for that. Well, about $480 later, after him putting all these parts in that one of the parts stores around town, he kept going back to, and then giving him these recommendations. Well, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. So he decides to come in, and I diagnose it for him. And in 10 minutes, I was done. And the problem was a vacuum line, about 4 inches long, that had a split in it.
Wow.
That caused his entire problem for him. Now he put, again, $480 or something like that into the vehicle in parts that, whether he needed them or not, I don't know. But all I know is he just needed a 4-inch long vacuum hose. It's nuts.
And it's funny you mention that because in Formula Drift, one of the most common things, it's not the $1,000 part that breaks, it's the $5 part that always breaks, and it costs you the event. So it's funny that he spent all that money on brand new things that didn't need to be replaced at all.
Yeah, he spent $480 to save. I think the diagnostic church at that time, so again, this was way back, was $79.95. So he spent $480 to save $80. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. But I'm sure he won't make that mistake again.
Hopefully.
And I'm sure you guys got a valuable customer. Like he saw what didn't work. He went to you guys, and then it worked. Now he trusts you guys in that way.
Yep. That's what happened.
Yeah. And one of the other questions I have one here is UNOH is very hands-on. I feel like that's one thing that UNOH does very, very well. And what do you think is some of the greatest hands-on experiences that students can get through the College of Applied Technologies?
Wow, that's a good question there. I mean, like speaking about high performance, students are able to actually put their hands on the equipment and use the equipment. So they can, they can use a honing machine. They can use a valve grinder. They can use the resurfacer. Okay, you can use the boring bar. I come over here to the automotive, and they get to use the snap-on scan tools. They get to use the on-car brake lathes. They get to use in the hybrid electric vehicle program. They get to use the specialized equipment in there. They get to use lifts, scissor racks, alignment machines. We just acquired an ADAS machine to where now how your car has the radar all around it, so you get someone driving up in your blind spot, and you get that light that comes on in your rear view mirror. That's part of the ADAS system, right there. Advanced Driving Assistance System is what it stands for. And we've got one of those brand new units that we've just had delivered and towards the end of last year to the 1100 building back there that we're going to be training students on here in the not so distant future. So I think the advantage we have over a lot of places is the amount of equipment and training aids that we have and the quality of it.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm still processing, when I was here for an open house event before I was a freshman, and just one of those private student tours, you know what I mean? So I was here for one of those, and I was just absolutely amazed by the fact that for incoming freshmen and parents, how the building is kind of structured is it's a garage full of things for that class. Right. There's one thing that's all about steering column.
Yeah, so steering and suspension.
So that classroom is literally a garage full of cars and just the bones of the cars, so you can literally see how it all works. And then it's just garage after garage after garage full of cars that they take 3 steps out of the classroom and they're there. Like the classrooms are in the garage. And in the 300 building, that's what I thought that was really cool because I saw one of them was the transmission room, and I walk in there in that tour, and it was literally just shelves full of transmissions, and then you walk 5 feet out of the classroom, and there's a car that needs a transmission put in it.
Yep, or serviced or whatever.
Right, like how much more hands-on does it get than literally having a transmission on your desk to literally just look through and study and understand what they're doing, and then walk right outside the classroom and there's a car for you to directly apply everything that you need to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting you're mentioning about automatic transmissions class there. Before I came here, I just left automatic transmissions class and speaking with the instructor and watching the students in there, and each table had one of these transmissions on it that they were going ahead and they were disassembling and they were putting back together, figuring out how the transmission itself works. And that, again, I think that's what makes us as unique as what we are, because you get that direct instructor communication. You get to work with them that way. We pretty much cap our technical classes at 20. So, rarely do we have 21 in there, but we typically, it's one instructor per 20 students for tech. Now, general education is a little bit different. Okay, we can put a few more students in general education, that way, but it's typically a 20-to-1 ratio in the tech classes. So, and then they work in groups, and then the instructor comes around and just double checks everything.
And one thing that I really like about UNOH personally is the size of the classrooms, as you just mentioned. I really like how, honestly, it really is not a whole lot different than high school in terms of the size of the classrooms. Because they're small rooms with maybe 20 to 30, as you said, something like that. And then you just learn on the board, right? It's very simple. There's no giant lecture halls. There's no microphones and giant presentations at these giant universities. Because that's how I personally learn. If I go into a giant lecture hall and I try to take notes, I will leave that lecture hall no more intelligent than I was when I walked in. I want to retain that kind of information. But to have these classrooms like how they are, and be more person to person and be more, individual, right, like that. That's how I personally learn. And I really do appreciate that kind of a class size, because I can actually, retain what I'm being taught.
Right.
Yeah, I really do like that. And so one of the questions that I have here is what is a demand that you can see changing drastically over the next 10 to 15 years?
We have, you've got this segment of the population, the baby boomers, those born from 45 to 64, who now we're getting to the end of that baby boomer generation. They're leaving the industry, and they're leaving in droves, and there aren't that many people there, trained people there to replace them. Now, granted, technology has taken things in a completely different direction. Many of those people who may not be baby boomers, but they may be born like when I was born, maybe through, from like 67 through, I don't know, maybe 1980, we'll say. A lot of them don't want to go back to school. They don't want to learn this new stuff, so maybe they're looking to do something different, or they're just getting out of it altogether. Or you also have to look at the fact that sometimes your body gives out on you. When I would teach my automotive management class, I would tell students to say, look, your body is not meant to take the abuse that it's going to take in the industries in which we represent here for 35 years. So you need to have a plan B, and the plan B is your education. So if you get your associate degree or stay longer and get a baccalaureate degree, you can now move into a different part of that business instead of just wrenching. Nothing wrong with wrenching. Okay. I've got two brothers who've done it for 35 plus years. Okay. But when your body breaks down, you need to have something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely understand that. And I think, as you mentioned, people get old, right? It just happens.
Yeah.
And having somebody below you to take your spot, to fill your shoes, is very important.
And these, these industries are growing. I mean, they are really, really hurting for technicians. They're hurting to the point to where some of these companies, or a lot of them, are actually going into high schools, trying to hire, kids out of high schools to then train them in their own facilities. Yeah. And, maybe that will work, maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't have a, insight, to see, 10 years down the road. But one thing I do know is when I was 17 and 18 years old, I really didn't have much of a clue what I wanted to do. I thought it was computer programming, systems analysis. And I found out a year into it, my freshman year, that nope, that's not it.
Yeah.
So, will there, I don't know, will there be changes in their approach in the future? I don't know. But I do know this, that with what we do in the College of Applied Technologies, we fill a definite need in a lot of industries: automotive, diesel, agriculture, HVAC, hybrid electric, automation, and robotics. I'm probably leaving something out also there, but we fill it. We fill a need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've heard, me and Mr. Harubin on the last episode talked a lot about like what kinds of students are the ones that excel. And like in the difference between the students who just come and go, get out of their dorm, do the assignments, go back to their dorm. Mm-hmm. So from your experience, what are the kinds of students that you actually see graduating with flying colors and excelling out of the classroom?
Yeah, those students who get involved. You've got to get involved. I mean, you can't shelter yourself. You have to plug in. And I think that's the same way with anything in life is, you get out of it what you put into it.
I agree.
So I think that was one of the first things I learned with computer, programming was GIGO, garbage in, garbage out type of thing. And it's the exact same thing here. If you don't put much effort or any effort into what it is that you've chosen to come to college about, you're not going to get anything out of it. But for those students who maybe get involved with clubs or maybe make friends, participate in class, you don't have to sit in the front row. Right. But the back row isn't the answer all the time either. So somewhere in between there, but be active. Communicate with your instructors. Communicate with your with your classmates. And again, try to put more into it. You're going to get more out of it that way. And you can't expect other people to do it for you.
Yeah, I think getting involved is an amazing way to not only get those soft skills we were just talking about, but also get the connections and be able to boost yourself out of college. And I think UNOH does a really good job with that as well, because we have so many clubs, so many options for you to do. A lot of the people here have a passion for motorsports, and especially on the tech side, they have a passion for cars, for automotive related things. So there's, drift club, rally club, off-road club, autocross, over the wall. Like, there's all of these things that they can go out and just do. Yeah. All they have to do is show up. Yeah. And I think I agree with you. I think getting involved and getting out to these clubs is a really good way to be able to succeed right out of the classroom. So now that we have is just closing conversations and anything else people would like to know and anything else that you have to say. Okay. So before we get to the closing conversations and questions and any of that, what do you have in front of you? What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, so I spoke with a couple of our faculty members about some things that they have going on, it's pretty much starting next week, okay, in the racing world. So I spoke with Mr. Klausing, who is our race club advisor, and every February for the last 30 some odd years, he's taken students to Daytona. Okay, so this year we'll be taking, he said 76 students will travel to Daytona during the second week of February. Now the students are either going to travel together, they carpool, or they travel, down there by themselves. And they'll be there for the race on Saturday, February 14th for the ARCA race. Okay. Now all of our students will work on teams. Okay, there's 18 teams down there that they're going to be working on. So some students will then work with those same teams for the entire year, which is a great experience builder, and they can start to network and things that way. We also have some other students that will work with the truck and Xfinity teams while they're down there also. So again, more contacts, more experience that way. Some of the duties, what do these students do when they're down there? Well, some of the duties include moving tires, checking tire temperatures, tire pressures. Those are always important. How a vehicle drives and how it handles. Some of them will go over the wall, and there's a variety of tasks prepping the cars for those specific races. Okay. And the big benefit for students is the ability, again, to make a lot of contacts at these races. The thing what we found out, and he says, make sure that you mention this, that he hasn't had one complaint over the years regarding our students and having problems with the race teams, meaning the race teams give him the feedback, say, look, we like your UNOH students. Keep doing what you're doing with them, because they go and they work and they help these teams out an awful lot, that way. Again, some of these teams are 100% UNOH kids. And that's something I think we can be proud of.
I mean, that's definitely something to be proud of, because I don't know personally a lot about any of the other racing series other than drifting, other than Formula Drift. But I know that a lot of teams in Formula Drift are already utilizing a lot of UNOH students, because drifting is a very passion-driven sport. So I really am proud as well that there's a lot of UNOH kids on all sides of motorsports.
Oh, totally. I know, that we're, we have a nice presence in the World Racing League, there also. So again, big things happening in College of Tech with that. Now the motorsports team, where Dean Higgins, Mr. Higgins, is also the motorsports team leader. He's the team coach, and he'll be leaving. I think it's on this coming Monday, with approximately 25 to 30 students. They're going to be traveling to Volusia County, Florida, for the dirt races that we have down there. We are going to be taking 3 of our own specific teams with our own cars that will be crewed by our guys, that will be driven by UNOH students. Okay, and these are the modified vehicles. So they're going to spend a total of 9 days down in Volusia County. The racing is going to be held at Volusia Speedway Park. Again, UNOH students do all of the work on the cars as well as race them. Then after those students start heading back here after those days right there, I think it'll be somewhere around February 7th or something like that. Okay. Some of our students will then travel to Daytona for recruiting and a lot of orientation activities. Now, if you've attended our open houses that we have back in the motorsports building, Mr. Higgins has a team of 4 students who do what we call as an engine teardown challenge. So what they do is they take an engine, they start it to prove to you that it runs. Okay. Yeah. Then they tear that engine completely down. I mean, they drain the oil, they tear this thing completely, manifolds come off, heads come off, and it comes down towards, the pistons and the connecting rods are out. So it's just a bare block just with a crankshaft in it. Yeah. Then they reassemble it and they fire it up. And that's all timed. So from start to finish, when the vehicle starts running and they tear it apart to where they stop assembling it and they fire it up, it's timed. And I've seen them do that as quickly as a little over 13 minutes.
Really?
Think about it, tearing a complete engine down that's running and putting it all back together and having it running in a little over 13 minutes. So it's amazing.
That's insane.
Again, some of the skills that we teach here. So, again, we can brag as much as we want, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Yep. And that shows it right there. And then coming up on March 6th, we have the Agriculture Power and Diagnostic Contest. It's pretty much run by FFA. Okay, so we used to call it the FFA Tractor Troubleshooting Contest. So students from all over the state of Ohio converge on campus for this contest. Pretty much they identify and correct malfunctions on agriculture equipment, diesel equipment and things like that. They compete in teams and rotate through, I think it's 5 or 6 different stations, okay? And there are judges there at each station to judge them and give them marks and scores for each one of those. There's a dinner the night before the contest is held. That's a Thursday night. Contest is then held on Friday, and the winners are announced during lunch on that day. Winners receive scholarships to UNOH in the amount of $10,000.
Wow.
So it can be pretty lucrative for, again, individuals who are interested in this type of career. So those are 3 big things we got going on just coming up here in the College of Applied Technologies.
Is there anything else that you'd like to touch up on?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much, I probably talked too much.
You're all good. Don't worry about it.
Something I'm really good at doing is talking. But
that's why we're on a podcast. That's how this works.
Right. There you go. But no, I think we pretty much kind of covered that. I just, maybe the last thing I'll say is, to, any, parent maybe listening out there or any prospective freshman who wants to use UNOH as an avenue, toward a career, just, remember you get out of it what you put into it. Don't be afraid. Feel free to ask questions. Everybody here is willing to help. Okay. And if we don't have an answer, we'll find the answer for you.
And I like how you say that, because I feel like every school says that, oh, we're here to help you. But from a student perspective, I can really tell you that that's true. I can really tell you that the faculty actually does care. They do want you to succeed, and they want to supply you with what you need in order to succeed. I mean, look at this podcast. We wanted to utilize this room, and we wanted to do something cool, and the faculty helped us, and the faculty made it possible for us to run this podcast and, do what we wanted to do. So I think, as you said, a message to a freshman would be, are you ready to put your head down and get involved and do the work and leave UNOH in your dream career, or are you just going to be a head that comes and goes? It's all in your hands. It's all in your favor. Yeah, it definitely does sound corny, but it's like where you end up is 100% your fault. Like, it is your fault if you end up as a starter team in NASCAR, and it's also your fault if you don't end up anywhere. Mm-hmm. So it is 100% in your hands. Yeah. So last thing I'll say, is there any other common questions that parents will give you during those open houses? Like, is there any one question that is repeated a bunch that you always have to answer?
No, nothing that stands out. I know when I was a faculty member, being part of GE, a lot of parents, when they would speak to me about GE courses, were concerned because it's like, oh, my son doesn't do very well, or my daughter doesn't do very well in GE courses. They're more hands-on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Look, GE courses can be looked at as being hands-on also. Don't be afraid of learning, how to communicate. Don't be afraid about learning mathematics that you're going to need for these industries. Don't be afraid about learning how to draft a letter or how to properly draft an email, compose a report. Don't be afraid of learning a little bit about psychology or, political science, those types of things there, because these are all, the GE courses help support the overall program. Everything works together. So I would simply say, if it's a GE related question, don't be afraid of GEs. They are there to support the entire program, and you'll need those skills to be successful in the program.
Yep. Alrighty. So that kind of concludes the episode, but any last remarks? Is there anything else that you would like to get out there?
No, I just want to thank you for having me in here today, and hope everything goes well with what you do, from here on out with whether it be faculty member or members of administration. I totally believe in what you're doing. Hopefully the experience for you can take it and build on it, as you go through your careers.
Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. I'll definitely make sure that this podcast becomes something good one day. And I really hope one day this podcast can become a very good resource for parents and incoming freshmen to get a good point of view of what UNOH is all about, and to have people be able to tell their story and to let people, voice whatever they have to say.
Certainly, you're welcome.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you guys have made it this far, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on. If you're a parent, if you're a freshman, if you want to hear more stuff about these related topics, as in, upcoming UNOH things and other degree programs you might be interested in, notifications on so you don't miss those kinds of things. And we have Instagram, we have TikTok. Check those out at Life in Rachel's Lane. And thank you once again for being here. And we will see you guys out there.